Commissioner Roby,
I'm here.
Commissioner Gillespie,
Here.
Commissioner Overton,
Here.
Commissioner Mattina,
Here.
Commissioner Mills,
Here.
Commissioner Farrington. I do not see present Commissioner Comstock, alternate Commissioner Smith,
Here.
and alternate Commissioner Lyons.
Here.
I have one vacant seat, and alternate Commissioner Sabatier is not present.
Betsy Cawn for the record. Yes, I find the level of conversation about the requirements for the district to be really pretty superficial. Looking at where the line is, doesn't discuss what the actual service needs are. And once again, the discussion that we had over a couple of years period had to do with what are the actual services needed from the district. We get that the Water Resources Department does this and it's public works and it has all these regulations and ordinances. That's all fine, you know, but we're not actually identifying the services that need to be provided within the concentration of domesticated, incorporated and unincorporated areas. So that whole thing about not being able to talk to another county or whatever it is, that's, you know, that's silly too. We have lots and lots of tri-county, multi-county relationships. The water management plan is with 4 counties, you know. This is a red herring, in my opinion. And so I just want to say, you know, I did review the document in detail, and on page 4 of your report, it says, under the topic of sphere of boundaries, that with respect to factor C, well, there was no factor A and B included, so I didn't know what those were, but LAFCo will not include areas in an agency's sphere of influence which cannot feasibly be served by the agency within a time frame consistent with the sphere plan. So, number 1, feasibility, actual services. What is watershed stewardship? Nothing. And we don't serve the federal lands more than 51% of our territory. Anyway, we do need services in the cities and the shoreline areas, the headwaters for watershed resource management, vegetation management, fire prevention, all of those things. And those things are perfectly within the sphere of activity, the scope of work of the Public Works Department, County of Lake, all those agencies. But the district itself doesn't provide those services. And there is no sphere plan that I can see. When you say a sphere plan, you know, this is your own language in here referred to this. And then I compared the 2 options that you offer. Both of them are identical, virtually identical. So again, I would really appeal to, I see some pretty decent findings, recommendations for things that the district should do. None of the district's activities are truly accountable to their own budget, their own plan, their own programs. It's all absorbed into the water resources and those kinds of things. I understood a long time ago why that happened. When the state came in here and said you need to implement this water quality order, and the county and the 2 cities got together and they had to come up with a stormwater management plan, and everybody went, wow, there's no funding for this. I work with counties all over the state of California in the same dilemma. There's no funding for it. So we have to figure out how to put it in there, insert it in our workloads, make it as low profile as possible. That, unfortunately, is counterintuitive to your need, first of all, to engage the community, the public, the taxpayers, the decision makers, the various departments that provide those services. They're not engaged except through this sort of tacit dimension that we do stormwater management. That's barely what we do. We do municipal good housekeeping. We do illegal discharge detection and elimination through the Environmental Health Department, police departments, and so forth. But we don't do public education and outreach. We don't do public involvement and participation, and we are not taking advantage. This is my biggest concern. We're not taking advantage of these enormous environmental programs that are available to us that would create jobs, would restore watersheds, would prevent flooding, that would lead to the lack of the reduction of contamination in the lake. All of those are things that we all need, but we just keep saying, oh, no, it's all fine. Just, that's the boundary line, don't worry about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things that's on the table right now, in fact, we have a meeting this afternoon on our medical marijuana ad hoc committee. And we're broaching a discussion for not only the registration fees that are accrued with an implementation and revision to Article 72 of our orders, but looking at taxation of cultivation of cannabis. And you've got to be big picture to understand the importance. One of the things you touched upon, or you might not have touched upon, is water quality and watershed restoration as part of the charge of the Watershed Protection District. There's an opportunity right now, if our board supports revisions and recommendation of our ad hoc committee, to actually allocate monies to the Watershed Protection District for abatement efforts, cleanup efforts, water quality improvements and restoration efforts in the upper watersheds, which clearly would go within the scope, in essence, of coterminous of the county boundaries in the sphere of influence. So to actually say that we don't have an opportunity to exercise and do services and restoration of our watershed and improve water quality and protect our environment and narrow that scope down is not feasible in understanding what's really going on, for example, i.e. in cannabis cultivation. So I don't know why we would reduce the scope if there's a potential to get funding to allocate the monies to this entity and allow us to do those cleanup and abatement activities and restore the upper watersheds. So maybe you guys can respond to that.
There's no plan.
Okay, well.
And this is
That's
what
always what I hear.
I'm just saying,
So
Mr.
never
Craig,
mind.
please let me answer. I've worked on many municipal service reviews. Every time we have been required to look at the service plan for a district that provides health and safety functions and that sort of thing. The district may indeed, and I've certainly worked for years with watershed, water resources and planning department. I talked to Rick years ago about using the stormwater ordinance to prevent the eradicate these illegal grows in the watershed and that sort of thing. It's never been done, but we have that ordinance in place. So I'm all in favor of that, but there is no plan. That's all I'm saying. That's great. I mean, bring it on. But this has been how many years since that district was created, and there really isn't a plan for the district's services. And I'd like to see that. I'm sorry? No, that's not a plan.
Nor is this a plan.
That's a review. There's no plan. There's no annual budget that reflects the programs and describes their tasks and identifies the priorities and delivers RFPs so that people can bid on those publicly instead of having them done by Public Works. All those things. There's no plan. I'd love to see that, please.
I don't know if what's before us is a plan or not. I think it's just the sphere of
Why
influence.
not? No, I'm talking about, you're talking
Yeah, well-
about using the district to take care of marijuana
Well, I'm talking about the
issues.
necessity to keep the boundaries expansive as possible. That's
Yeah, we
what I'm
got
talking
that
about.
part. We already got that.
Hopefully that's
Among
understood.
our recommendations is that the district prepares a strategic plan and also to do implementation ordinances.
Yeah.
Those are in the recommendations,
It doesn't
and so when we do a
affect
sphere of
them.
influence, part of it is the boundary of the sphere, and then the other part of it is these recommendations. And then when we go around and do the next round, we check to see if they comply. That's not being,
Oh, yeah, 5 years. Okay.
doesn't
Thank
have to
you.
be 5 years.
Well, okay, good. But I just want to see some teeth in actually making something happen as opposed to
But
just writing.
I would
this.
advise if anybody has a problem with the district's operations, that they need to talk to the board of directors.
Oh, please.